The house was filled with warmth that evening. The clinking of silverware, the laughter of cousins, and the soft music playing from an old radio created a harmony of joy. It was Thanksgiving night, and the family had gathered around the long wooden dining table, just as they always had for generations. But Emma's eyes, as always, drifted toward the chair at the end of the table. A polished oak chair, carefully cleaned and placed, yet untouched. No one ever sat there. Not in years. It had belonged to her father. Emma's father had passed away when she was still in her teenage years. Time had moved on, seasons had changed, children had grown older, but the chair remained. Her mother insisted it stay there every holiday dinner, every birthday celebration, every gathering. To Emma, it always felt like an open wound, a reminder of loss instead of comfort. Tonight, as her uncle told a joke and the table burst into laughter, Emma smiled faintly, but her eyes stung with tears she refused to let fall. She thought, why keep this chair? Why hold on to something that will only hurt us? Later that night, when everyone had gone to bed, Emma returned to the dining room. The room was dark except for the glow of the fireplace. The empty chair stood there, almost waiting for her. She slowly pulled it out and sat down, her hands trembling as they brushed against the smooth armrest. The wood was cold to the touch, yet her heart raced as though she were holding her father's hand again. She leaned back, closing her eyes, and tried to remember him, his deep voice, his laugh, the way he carved the turkey with care, telling stories that made even the grumpiest relative smile. The silence pressed down on her chest. She whispered into the darkness, why does it feel like you're still here? Why does Mom keep your chair at the table? Do you even know how much we miss you? But only the old grandfather clock in the hallway answered with its steady ticking. Emma's eyes filled with tears. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to cry, her sobs echoing softly in the empty room. The next morning, unable to quiet her restless thoughts, Emma asked her mother why she insisted on keeping the chair there year after year. Her mother paused, drying her hands on a towel, her eyes glistening. Because love doesn't vanish, Emma. Your father's place in this family is still his. The chair reminds us that though he's gone, his love hasn't left us. Every holiday, I look at that chair and remember his laughter. I hear his voice in my heart. That chair keeps him close. Emma didn't respond, but the words echoed within her all day. She began noticing the little ways her family interacted with the chair. Her brother occasionally glanced at it when he told a story. Her grandmother would smile faintly at it, as though remembering something only she knew. Emma realized that while she had seen only emptiness, the others saw presence. The chair was more than furniture, it was memory carved into wood, love engraved in silence. That evening, Emma stumbled upon an old photo album tucked in her mother's drawer. She opened it carefully, the scent of old paper filling the air. Page after page, she saw her father in that same chair, laughing, raising his glass, holding her as a little girl. In one picture, he had Emma on his lap, his arm wrapped protectively around her as she giggled with a missing tooth. In another, he leaned back with a mischievous smile, clearly in the middle of telling one of his famous stories. The chair wasn't empty in those photographs. It was alive. As she turned the pages, tears blurred her sight. She pressed her fingers against the glossy surface, wishing she could step into those moments. The chair wasn't about loss, it was about remembering a love too strong to fade. It was about honoring a place that could never be replaced. For the first time, Emma understood what her mother had meant. The chair was not a wound, it was a monument of love. The following holiday gathering carried a different weight. The room buzzed with joy as always, the children running around, her cousins teasing each other, the smell of apple pie filling the kitchen. But this time, when Emma looked at the empty chair, she didn't see emptiness. She saw love. Halfway through dinner, she raised her glass and spoke softly, but clearly. To Dad, she said, her eyes glistening. We may not see him, but he's here. He's always been here. The table grew quiet. Her mother smiled through tears. Her brother placed a hand on hers, and then, one by one, each family member lifted their glass toward the chair. The silence was no longer heavy, it was warm, glowing with love and memory. For the first time in years, Emma didn't feel like something was missing. She felt like something was present. Later that night, when the lights were off and the laughter had faded into sleep, Emma returned to the dining room one last time. The chair was still there, sitting quietly at the end of the table. She stood in front of it, her heart calm in a way it hadn't been in years. She whispered softly, "Good night, Dad. Thank you for staying with us all this time." As she turned to leave, the fire flickered, casting a warm glow across the chair. For the first time, Emma smiled through her tears. She no longer saw it as an empty chair, it was a full one, full of memories, full of love, full of the life her father had given them. The chair would always remain, not as a haunting absence, but as a reminder that love never truly leaves. It lingers, it stays, it lives on, even in silence, even in an empty chair.